So I'm going to do a walkthrough of my very first Project Life albums. And so when I first decided to do Project Life, it was in about February of 2015. So I had to piece together the first month or so based on my memory because I really wanted it to start in January. And I thought it's close enough. I can probably kind of remember what happened. So the beginning of it is pretty light on journaling. And when I started out, I don't know if I didn't know or if I just didn't want to follow that kind of traditional format of, I don't know what the design is of Heidi Swapp's page protectors. I think it might be design F, but I could be making that up. Of like the top is 4x6 and then the middle row is 3x4 cards and then the bottom is 4x6 photos. I didn't settle into that format until I think the second album. And so this is just kind of random. And it really made it a lot more stressful to do it this way because I was like, oh, then the next spread, I have to have a certain number of square photos. And it just, I don't know. Having that format has been really helpful for me. Like, I know all my photos are going to be horizontal and I know all my journaling is going to be on a 3x4 card. That's just been streamlining that. It's been really helpful. And it's also interesting because looking back at this album, I can tell, like, I'm just reflecting on some differences. And so this is also before I did it, I did each spread with one collection. So I had way more product when I made this album in my scrap room than I do now. I got rid of a ton. And now I almost exclusively only use four different brands. I either use Brandy Kincaid, Studio Calico, L Studio, or Ali Edwards. I don't think that I have used anything outside of those four brands in the last, I don't know, 2 years maybe. And that has made things really easy too, because each spread I typically just pick a collection. And so in these albums, everything's kind of all over the place. And I think, it's okay. I don't hate this album or anything. I can just tell that my current spreads have a lot more, um, I don't know, I feel like this word is overused, but cohesion. Like, I just feel like everything kind of goes together and is a little bit more visually pleasing than this album. Like, I think the design of this is kind of all over the place. Actually, this spread right here is probably the first time that I was like, oh, maybe I should just have like everything kind of have like a color scheme that kind of goes together. And I feel like it looked a lot better to kind of have like that green throughout. And then this spread too, like kind of that pink throughout. It just made a lot more sense. I also hadn't fallen into the format that I fell into later of the second card on the top is always the title card and every other 4x6 is a photo. I've fallen into that routine and I really like that a lot. In this At this point, I still hadn't put the date on that title card. I don't even know where the date was on that last one. And I was using a lot of filler cards in the 4x6, which again, I don't think it's as pleasing to have it kind of all over the place like that. I remember loving this spread specifically. I think again because the colors scheme goes really well. And this is kind of when I found my groove of like um I don't know, just can tell with this spread and I think the next few, like, I just feel like I started getting a sense of balance and and kind of visual distribution. I don't feel like I'm articulating myself very well, but just the idea that each spread needs to have kind of a mood and it needs to kind of follow the photos. And I think I was figuring that out as I was making this album. And I noticed like throughout the two albums, I like each spread more and more as I keep going through. So there, I think I must have started doing the title card there in the second. Well, no, I guess I didn't do it in the next one either. And see, there it's on the far right. I don't know. It's funny. It's funny how style kind of evolves over time and how things kind of change. And I mean, much like our lives are really different than this album, too. So, no, it's interesting. That's the week I got my current job, the text message I sent my mom. I can see there. I think this one is an insert. I think this is when is that an insert there? Yeah. When I started doing inserts, which was helpful because I was like, I don't want to make a whole page just based on this one event, but it was kind of served as a nice place to put stories within Project Life to kind of keep my regular albums a little bit thinner. And I was also doing, you can see that 25 for this first, I don't know, I might have even done it in 2016. I would say like week 1, week 2, week 26. I don't know why I wanted to do that. I think I just saw other people doing it and I thought, oh, that's what you're supposed to do. But I actually don't do that anymore. I don't really prefer doing that. I just feel like it's kind of unnecessary. It doesn't really help me. Yeah, and again, I can see here that I've sort of tied a little bit more color in, and the spread just, I think, looks a little bit better. This all looks like it's just one day. I'm not sure what that's about. Yeah, I also remember loving this spread. I mean, I still like it, but I just love the way that all of the journaling goes. And the other thing about this album I'm noticing is that I was doing a lot more on each card. Like the upper right there with the love list, like I stamped all of that, and like each card just took a lot more time because I think there was this period of time where I felt like each card had to be like its own, I don't know, art project. And that just, I don't know, it became sort of exhausting. Now I just typically slip cards in. I mean, I'll do journaling on it, but like right there on where my daughter was crawling, I stamped all of that. And right there with the flowers, I stamped all of that. And I sometimes do that now, but I definitely do it a lot less now than I used to. Yeah, I specifically remember the spread. I don't know if you ever go through your old albums, but I remember loving this on the right there with that moon and the my rainbow pots. I just loved all of that. I was really excited. And this is kind of where I think I started to really stick to the photos in the 4x6. Yeah, I can see now that there's minimal photos in the middle and there's all photos on the perimeter. And I've got that card there in the second slot, so I can see I'm really coming into that. And I think my photography really changed with Project Life because I started to, my husband always laughs because I'm always like, horizontal, horizontal. Like I started taking so many more photos horizontally because I was basically photographing for Project Life, which I still do. I typically take photos with the idea of what I'm going to do with them in scrapbooking later, and that helps a lot. Because it really, most people, I mean, especially the way we hold our smartphone, you have to think about it to turn it on its side. Like typically, people take photos vertically. And I have to say to people a lot, like, can you make that horizontal? So if you do Project Life, I think that's something that you just have to start thinking about and change. I like how I incorporated like that I wanted to say receipt, but that's not right. That prescription, just kind of that daily stuff I think is kind of fun. The other thing I think that's fun to include in Project Life, like in the upper right there, my family as Peanuts characters, is kind of whatever's happening in the world at the time. Like I remember that really funny viral video about the kids walking in on their dad's interview. I saw like a really funny cartoon of that and I included it in a spread for that week. I think that's really fun to do, just kind of incorporate, like right there, the newspaper for the college that I work at. It kind of gives you like a marker of just, because Project Life's about, you and your family, but it's kind of pulls in like what's happening in the larger world, which I think is kind of cool. I can see there I did some repetition with those two half circles, so I must have been kind of starting that pattern or process that I do. And I learned as I was working on this album was when Ali Edwards had started her story kits and the classroom and all that. And so I was really learning a lot. And you can see how the album's really changing and evolving as I'm learning. And how much gas was that week. $1.50. It's crazy. Also started to speaking of taking photos with Project Life in mind, I can see that I was taking photos with the idea of negative space. So like the one that's the title card, when I photographed it, I thought, I can use this later as, a title card or whatever. Started really doing that too. And I think this is when I did December daily. So then each just half spread is 1 week because December daily covers so much terrain of the week that Project Life doesn't need to be quite so bulky. So And then I think that last page is just like the last day of December or something. So, hope this inspires you to pull out some of your old albums and kind of see how far you've come and what's changed. Thanks for watching.